So Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi has recently received a really amazing promotion, which is why we've seen a lot of arrests recently that have been taking place, as well as the collapse of Ekurhuleni. Because Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, after assuming this particular position, he is slowly but surely collapsing Ekurhuleni. We saw how sad Commissioner Julius Mkhwanazi was looking yesterday in court. Ziyakhala. It's getting hectic. And I wanted us to actually react to this interview, beautiful interview by Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi regarding his promotion and his plans thereof in this new job. Let us start.
Going to remain as a provincial commissioner here in KZN?
Yes, I'm still a provincial commissioner in the province.
Okay, so what does the new role entail?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, because the Act requires that the appointment of the provincial commissioner must be in consultation with the executive in the province. So when the national commissioner considered to reappoint me in the province, he had to engage with the premier. But as a South African Police Service, we always have strategies to fight crime. So as one of the strategies that the national commissioner is employing, he has identified me to play a role in that strategy of fighting organized crime. So he then had the responsibility to brief the premier on what is it that is intending to do and to utilize me and how is that going to impact in my role in the province. So literally it means that I will have to, while having a responsibility of the province, but I have to then do an oversight role of the work that has to be done at the national level in fighting organized crime.
Will that remove you from the province though?
That's great, guys. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm so excited that at least he's not abandoning his role as the national police, as the provincial police commissioner in KZN, because I'm thinking that the people in KZN would have been hurt, like we've been hurt so much. But I also think that the Gauteng people are going to be very happy because there's been a lot of people that have been screaming for Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, saying, help us with this, help us with that. And I think this is definitely going to make a lot of people excited knowing that, you know, he's going to deal with organized crime in a lot of provinces, meaning that the criminals must run very far.
Physically, I mean.
Well, it keeps me in South Africa. So I will still be working in the province, but moving around, not necessarily be in KZN all the time. So I'm going to be moving up and down and trying to coordinate both. So it's quite a lot of work to do, but it's still at the beginning of it. So as the time progresses, we'll see how feasible is it to do both. Then maybe we'll have discussions thereafter.
There's massive interest in the issue of organized crime in the country at the moment, and you know how people are glued into the Madlanga Commission and so forth. Maybe explain to us where this structure, or this is it a task team, where it would fit in the bigger picture of policing on that level in the country, because we're always hearing about the PKTT and the work that it does. We see the other PKTT in Gauteng as well. Where does this come in that picture of that level of policing?
We've always said that in the South African Police Service, we've got different units that are established, and those units have got specific purpose. And what we've been seeing as a challenge is a coordination of the work of all these different disciplines that we have in the police. We were trying to, the structure that we had with the PKTT was that of bringing all these units together under one central command, so that we're able to deliver the results that we've seen over years. So this is exactly what we're trying to do with this organized crime approach, that we take from different disciplines and we bring them under one command so that we can be able to have a focused investigation. So if you're going to have those that are in uniform branch and those that are within the detective branch, a different specialization of detectives, and those that are within the combating side of policing, working together, it's going to speed up the process. So that when you're dealing with organized crime, it's a sophisticated thing, depending on what type of crime that they are involved in, the syndicate. So once we have the intelligence part of that, they are able to identify the specific syndicates you need to attack, and in dealing with that syndicate, you have all these disciplines under one command structure, and we pull all these resources together, it will help us to speed up the process. And also to be able to have a counterintelligence working that is going to help with an auditing or evaluation of the members that are deployed to work there. Because what we've seen a lot is that members are left sometimes to run on their own, and that's why they're getting corrupted easily, because there's no close monitoring on what they do, the close supervision on what they do. But when we bring them under the team and under the task team, so everyone's going to be checking everyone under one umbrella. So that is basically what we're trying to achieve with this.
General, there are obviously concerns around the infiltration within the SAPS itself.
This is insane because remember that, guys, our Shibiri, people like Shibiri are part of the organized crime units in Gauteng. Such officers are going to be in trouble because now, which means if they were hiding things, they were doing illegal stuff, they have to hide them. That is why I'm saying that, guys, people are going to be arrested. Shibiri, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is coming for you because literally, if he's the head, he's going to be auditing all of these units in all these provinces, meaning Ziokala on loudspeaker. If we think people are arrested, Julius Mkhwanazi are nothing, guys. Big dogs are about to be arrested like Abu Shibiri. They're going to be losing their jobs because Ziakala, these audits he's going to do a massive cleanup. That is why I'm thinking that I think Senzo Mchunu and Shadrach Sibia, they didn't know what they were doing when they said PKTT needs to be national. That is why we disbanded, because we wanted it to be everywhere. Ziakala now, it is going to be everywhere through Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I hope they are ready because a lot is still going to be uncovered. And remember, Shibiris are friends with Shadrach Sibias, so there's more that's still going to be uncovered. They're getting what they wanted. Yeah.
Now, if you're talking about organized crime, you can't exclude the SAPS in its as a body from organized crime because some of the criminals are inside. Will you be building your own team, and how will you ensure the kind of independence that you would need to do these investigations?
Yeah, well, we already have police officers, very good police officers all over the country. Ours is to identify them, and the like-minded ones, the hard-working ones, we bring them together so that they can deliver the service. There's a risk associated with the work that the police officers are doing, especially within organized crime. That's why we have to develop the countermeasures to mitigate the risk of involvement in corruption and stuff like that. So I'm confident that those that we're going to identify and bring them together will be able to deliver the service that we expect. But this is on a high level that we're focusing on. There's different levels of organized crime that, as you know, we're trying to focus on the high level of organized crime. South African Police Service, or I would say law enforcement in general, they are not immune from corruption. We see what has been spoken about now at both Komiti and Madlanga. It's basically mainly centered to that. It's law enforcement. So we'd be naive if we think the enemy is out there and we are not focusing within. So the enemy will be also attended to, that is within the law enforcement agencies, both from the police and other law enforcement agencies that are operating in the country.
What will be your first task when you take up this role, and also when will you be taking up this role?
Yeah, well, the work is already started. I was in Pretoria I think few days of this week, and next week I'll be back in Pretoria again. I'm going to be in Cape Town. So the work has already started. There's a team in Pretoria that already put things together, and we are hard at work already as it is. There are analyses of dockets that we're going to begin with very soon, so that we can be able to identify which one we're going to tackle. And obviously, intelligence will help us with the profiling. The intelligence community, I must say, not only crime intelligence, the entire cluster from state security and defense that will be coming together to try and assist us. So that we're able to identify different type of syndicates that we have to deal with, or who are some of them operating international, but have links, that they're operating in South Africa, but have links in the international side. So we are having that scope of work that I hope that what we have already started will deliver results. Obviously, when we take dockets to court, it takes a while for cases to be finalized, because as you can imagine, dealing organized crime, and there's many of them that are involved in different structures of our government. So we will have to uncover all that from within, as we see, municipalities, crime that's happening there, organized crime that's happening within municipalities, and organized crime that's happening not necessarily involving municipalities but other government entities, and organized crime that runs in terms of drugs, gangsters and stuff like that. So it's different areas that you'll have to look at. But I'm confident that the team, as we put together, we have to take it bit by bit. It's a big elephant. We won't finish it at once.
Is this going to take you right to the doorstep of the Big Five?
No, Big Five is already identified. So that's already a syndicate. And I'll say Big Five is always, that's why we described it as a cartel. Because it was not just a syndicate that was dealing with a normal criminality, selling things because they want to make money.
Yo, you see now, it makes sense why they went and arrested Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who was found with live ammunition, They said they found a lot of ammunition with him. So you see why municipalities, they were arrested, because this is an interview that happened on Friday. And these people were arrested just like that on a Saturday. So this task team, I'm happy about it. Actually, this job that Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is currently doing, we're going to see a lot of work that is going to happen, either under the task team of the Madlanga Commission or under this unit that is going to be chaired by Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who is not going to really all work with the old fossils who have been receiving and eating the money from the cartel. He's going to be working with the young blood. He's going to be looking for good police officers and work with them. And I'm thinking those 3 police officers that are have been in hiding and have not even been promoted for the longest of times, who have assisted with the Brakpan case of the engineer, who has assisted a lot in the engineer case and cracking Vusumuzi Ket Matlala and Katiso Molefe. Those 2 officers, I definitely think they'll be part of the team. I'm excited. I don't know what you guys, are you also excited like I am? Let's continue, guys.
Out of it. But this was a group that their plan was to take over government. And that's why we had to stand up and say, this cannot be allowed. When South Africans have got a constitutional right to vote for their leaders, and on this side we have people that have got money that are now controlling politicians, and they are trying and are controlling law enforcement, using law enforcement, and to make sure that they can attack any of their enemies that are contesting those high positions. So that's what we're trying to mitigate. So the Big Five is already identified. We are working on them, and we are going to neutralize them very soon.
General, you said at the beginning of your testimony at the Madlanga Commission, even at the ad hoc committee, that you said that you would present what you know and others would come in and present other elements. When you sit back and you watch these proceedings, although you started this, are you shocked by anything that comes out? Do you see something or hear something and you think, gosh, I didn't realize that the rot was that deep?
Well, unfortunately,
they are going to neutralize the Big Five. They are going to neutralize the Big Five. I hope that is loud and clear to the Big Five. Because they're trying to take over government. What do you mean? We are voting for the ANC while General Nhlanhla and the likes are busy funding the ANC campaigns so that they can control the ANC and they can do the unalivings or whatever criminal things that they were doing and be protected by the very politicians through the police officers that they've recruited to be part of the cartel. They're color now.
We might not disclose everything that we talked about in our meetings as management of the police, but most of the time we discuss things in the police and they get minuted. So a good auditor can come and audit every meetings we've ever had for a number of years and see whether have we ever spoken about these things. What we've been identifying is level of corruption that has crept into our country. But what has been more of a worry is the level of involvement of law enforcement into this. And that extended into other agencies within the criminal justice system that shocked us and made us realize majority of the things that are out in the public now is no surprise to us because we've seen it. When you have a murder case of an employee at municipality, a person is killed working at water at a table. When you investigate that, and it tells you that this murder is as a result of a tender somewhere. And when you look at what is happening in that tender involves leadership within municipality, and those leadership within municipality are linked with some leaders at political side. So that has always been there. We unfortunately have always trusted units that are charged with the responsibility to investigate those, to do justice. But we've been seeing that there's challenges all the time. We have members deployed in the borders. Our port of entry are crime scenes, as I can confidently tell you that. Officials that are working in our port of entry, majority of them, they've got questionable lifestyles. And we have not necessarily tackled it, and we've allowed it to happen. So,
but you can now.
This is our intention, to try and see how can we better coordinate so that we can deal with such things. Because we understand that the problem that we have, over time it has become so big that it is about time to change our method of how we operate. This system of creating a unit specific for a specific project, it's not working for us. Because once we have that unit, it only takes a syndicate to identify which unit tackles this, disturbs them on this crime, and they start challenging them and recruiting them. And the members, because they work independently, they can easily influence. But when we put them into a team structure, that the way we want to do it, and we're not going to confine them to work next to, because once we're working at a unit, you need to be based at the unit where you can set up your family and everything around. But when you're putting in a task team, we'll send you where we want you to go. You leave the family there. If we are from Devon and we want you in Pretoria, we'll send you to Pretoria to go and work there.
For example, guys, look at this lady that was unalived because of what she knew and the information that she had. And she was unalived in Vanderbilt Park. And these municipalities, whenever you uncover their corruption and you become a whistleblower, they always find ways to silence you, because people have thrived. People have lived for the very long time, for the longest of times, through these tenders. And that's the thing, guys. It looks like 90% of these tenders were awarded irregularly without even following the process. Because what we heard regarding this particular case is that this lady was about to expose that people were submitting ghost invoices to get money.
I think they are linked because of there was a certain point whereby she told a friend that there's a person who's paying in municipality with fake checks, and then the money doesn't reflect into their accounts. So that's how far I know about this, but I'm sure there are investigating officers, they are busy with it, trying to find out if this way, it's not a speculation in a way. It's there because now she's no longer with us.
Had she expressed fear for her life?
She did, but she did, because the last time when I spoke to her, she told me that she wants to add 4 more cameras at home where she stays. Then I asked, like, okay, why 4 more cameras? She says, I'm scared, but she didn't tell me she's scared of what.
So, I don't know if you guys remember this recent case of a lady that was unalived in Vanderbilt Park. So she was about to expose the municipality and the wrong things that have been happening in that particular municipality, that she was silenced. So definitely this task team is needed. And yeah, I'm happy about what the plans are. Let's continue.
For that period, while your family is in KZN. And so we move them around. That is the whole approach on it. Of course, it's going to cost money. But when you consider the amount of money we're spending for police officers that are working X number of hours a day and X number of days a week, and they need to rest. But when we bring them into the task team, we get more from them, the same working hours, and they actually work longer than they will if they were working at their own units. So we're trying to find other ways of making sure that we can get more from the members that we employ in the service.
You took me to my next question. How is the SAPS paying for this? I mean, what's the budget?
It has always been government's approach that the proceeds of crime, whatever we recover from there, get to be disposed, and the revenue collected is kept in a specific fund, which is Cara Fund. So we've been asking Treasury to help us with this Cara Fund because we want to run these operations. And they've been generous. I started allocating that. We started in the past 2 years working at the mines, and we're using the same funds to run this operation. So the plan is, if you're criminal and you are involved in organized crime and you live large, ours is to make sure that we investigate, we confiscate, we dispose of the asset, we recover the loot, that the money that has been recovered from whatever assets that we've disposed of, we put it into a Cara Fund. The Cara Fund finances operation. So the long-term plan is to be self-sufficient by the very same criminals. And we get their things, we sell it, we finance ourselves, and we go back and it doesn't have that the taxpayers must pay for that. If these criminals are making millions, we see them, they're driving luxury cars, they've got multiple properties, they live large, they wear designer clothes and stuff like that. It's about time that we go for the purse and the assets. So that's why we're working together with the NPA on this project to make sure that we can neutralize the danger. We don't want the others to also start having an idea of taking over government, like the Big Five has done. So while dealing with the Big Five, we want to suppress these others so they don't have an idea of saying, we want to now control government because we're able to control government officials, politicians with money. Now we want to install a president of the country. Because once they move into that stage of saying, this is our president, we put this president in, and therefore this president must do what we like, then the country's gone. So we're trying to prevent that.
So your task team will stop that. I want to know, because we'll probably have a conversation at the end of your deployment as well. What do you think would rate your deployment as a success in your eyes if you are able to achieve those goals by the end? I want to know so that I can hold you to account on the other side of it.
Yeah, well, it's a long term. It's going to be a long-term project because it's going to be investigative directed. While we're going to investigate, we're going to disrupt the work that they do. We're going to try and suffocate them as much as we can, and then recover whatever that you can recover. The amount of what we've seen in the country, the amount of lawlessness that are happening in the country as a result of firearms is problematic for us. So firearms remain as a major focus area for us. So the disruption operations that we already started, I'm sure you're aware of that. Yeah. We've already started on some of these disruptive operations on firearm compliance, because that's what makes them to not fear anything, because they feel they're protected. They can just carry whatever weapons and they do as they please. So we are going to try and make sure that the compliance with the Act is enforced to all the people that we feel that they're participating in the wrong. So once we disrupt that and we get good behavior, you're going to see that by observing the murder rate going down. So the more the murder rate go down, it's going to mean that the plan that we're implementing then start working. Because what then follows there is a level of employees of government, especially within the environments that are managing tenders, whether it's provincial government, whether it's municipalities, in areas where money is wasted because of tender colleagues. Yeah. You can't have
I'm not going to lie. When he spoke about these criminals being the ones that are actually financing them, because he said that they need around about 1 billion, if I'm not mistaken. There's something he spoke about 1 billion somewhere, somehow. But if these criminals are the ones that are actually going to be funding this project, I'm very happy, because which means people like Vusimuziket Matlala, Hagwan Maumera, their assets are going to be seized to make sure that this task team at least has something to survive on. And also think about the person that is currently testifying now at the Matlala Commission, Gareth Mnisi. He has, this guy is so rich. For the amount of money they said that he's earning around about over 100,000 rands, 120 or 40 around there. But his assets are amounting to 80 million rands. This man is literally rich. And he was exposed even I think it was, I watched an episode. I think it was like a clip from, Eyewitness News. Eyewitness News actually exposed this guy and his lifestyle and how much his lifestyle is.
Tshwane Municipality, Gareth Mnisi, finally has a bit of good news. That's because he has been cleared of allegations regarding his quote unexplained wealth, alleged misrepresentations on his CV, and not declaring all of his business interests. He's still being investigated for the revelations at the Madlanga Commission that he allegedly colluded with Sergeant Faninkosi along with other senior officials to rig tenders at the municipality. But that's a different issue. So you remember that earlier this month, we reported on the Tshwane Council holding an in-committee meeting to discuss some of the allegations against Mnisi. Now this was before his name was mentioned at the Madlanga Commission. These allegations stemmed from two letters written to the city manager, Johan Medler. One was from the ANC in Tshwane, and the second was from the Republican Conference of Tshwane, which is represented by a single councillor, Lex Middelburg. So as I said, the crux of the allegations against Mnisi was that he had a lot of wealth that was unexplained and that he may have lied on his CV. So where this all starts is that in 2024, Mnisi unfortunately went through a messy divorce, and that divorce ended up in the Gauteng High Court, and by virtue those documents became public. From those documents, Mnisi is listed as being incredibly rich, like rich. His net worth is anything between 70 to 80 million rand. He has a fleet of luxury cars, at least 10 properties listed in his name, and has a number of lucrative business interests. Now, this obviously piqued the interest of some political parties in Tshwane who wondered how a 36-year-old man who's largely worked in government for most of his adult life had accumulated so much money. Well, a confidential report was recently tabled before an in-committee council meeting in Tshwane. In-committee here meaning that the meeting was held behind closed doors. So first things first, the report states that prior to being hired as a chief financial officer in Tshwane, Mnisi, like all Section 56 managers, was subjected to a vetting process. The vetting was conducted by the country's state security agency, and it made no adverse findings against him, basically clearing him. Secondly, the report says Mnisi has consistently declared all of his business interests, and again, there were no red flags that were found. The third and last allegation was that Mnisi had represented his CV by claiming that he worked for National Treasury. However, the confidential report says he did indeed work for National Treasury as an advisor. Again, the report states that the State Security Agency runs consistent security background checks on senior officials relating to employment history, qualifications, and other integrity-related matters. So that's that on the matter. But now, as you probably know, in the same in-committee council meeting that I'm talking about, there was a motion that was passed by council which entails that Mnisi must give written reasons for why he should not be placed on suspension pending an investigation on the revelations at the Madlanga Commission that he participated in the rigging of tenders at the Tshwane Municipality. Now, we're still waiting to see what those written submissions will be and whether the municipality will go ahead with suspending him. Thabiso Goba, Eyewitness News.
So it looks like this team is also going to have some SIU element in it. That if you're going to be having money, spending the cartel money, living lavish lifestyle, that is going to be seized to actually fund these people. Ziakal?
A facility that is budgeted for to be constructed within a period of 2 years, for instance, a police station, and it takes 10 years to be finalized. The cost of 50 million rand end up being 200 million rand. So we're trying to cap such things. We must be able to identify it, because what we know what's happening is many things. People get a tender of putting out a project, a construction project, for instance, a site establishment. People invoice for that. You put up a site, you establish a site, and you invoice 10 million rand, you get paid to dismantle the site you go. The project doesn't, you've already collected money for site establishment. So what was the intention? Was the intention to build a road? Or was it to
siphon money?
To siphon this money. So those are the type of things that we're beginning to look at.
Okay, and lastly, you've built up a massive amount of support in the province as well. I mean, do you have any message to the residents of KwaZulu-Natal as you take on this task?
As I said, the resident of the province of KwaZulu-Natal has always been very kind to us. I want to encourage them to monitor what we do as a police. If we step out of the line, they must report it. But I want them to also share information with us, because if they share information with us, we'll be able to get those perpetrators and remove them from society. What I have called for the station commanders in this province is that at least once a month, a station commander must have community engagement. It doesn't matter where they have that. They must be able to meet with their community, and they give status in terms of the crime patterns happening in their area. And they must give reports in terms of the performance of investigations. For instance, you will have someone in that community being shot at. Yeah. The family members of the injured or the victim might get briefing from the police, but the rest of the residents do not know the status of the case. So therefore, the station commander has got an obligation with the detective that are working there to inform the community that there was this incident in their area, and this is what we have done as a police. What is the status of the case in court, the outcome of the case in court. And even if a person is taken to correctional services, if there's going to be a parole that's going to take place, the community must be informed that so and so that was arrested is now released on parole, so that the community is aware of it. With that kind of sharing of information between the community and the police is going to strengthen our fight against crime, and we can be able to know exactly what's happening as the neighbors that we are staying in the area of KwaZulu-Natal. But in as far as the project that I'm going to be busy with, organized crime is also affecting the very same province. So if especially those tenders that are dubious, those are the things we're going to start looking at. Construction projects that are not getting finalized, but more important, when you start seeing the lifestyle of government employees, the lifestyle of even politicians that are far beyond, from the looking at it, that is far beyond than what their salaries is all about. They might want to start giving us tip-offs on those so that we can look at it. It does not necessarily mean that a person cannot afford, but it's interesting to know if once you start seeing a person living a certain lifestyle, the communities know that. Yeah. That so-and-so was nobody yesterday, he becomes a councillor or whatever position, or he was nobody yesterday and today he becomes an employee of municipality or government somewhere, and next thing you start driving fancy cars, clothes, house where he lives in, start drinking expensive alcohol. So that lifestyle, it might need to be checked. So we can only check that by registering inquiries and start probing some of these things. That's why we want to go.
General, I wish you well, but I think on behalf of the country, I must ask you your Spotify playlist, please. Take care. All the best. That was...
I hope the people are ready for what is about to happen, because we know that these people that are tenderpreneurs, they live higher lives. They are funding baddies, giving Instagram queens life that is of a certain standard. And if Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, this is what he's going to do, I hope they've already seen that he means business. He's not here to play. They've already seen that he's definitely going to come for their lavish lifestyles that they've been living, going to Dubai every now and again without rest. I don't know what you guys think about what his plans are. And I hope that, this tender system is going to end. This will actually force the government to actually end the tender system, because he's not coming only for police officers. He's not only coming for... He's coming for the comrades. He's coming for the comrades. So this is the perfect time to just end the tender system. Otherwise, we'll be getting arrests every now and again. Nonetheless, guys, let me hear your thoughts. Let me hear what you think. I will see you guys on my next upload. I enjoyed this particular episode, or this exclusive by Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, and I thought I should share with you guys so that we can react together. I know to those who know that I've been consistent, it's a really busy season right now, and I'm gonna post as much as I can. But if I'm not around, just know that she's busy. She's not just sleeping. She's busy. Otherwise, guys, thank you for watching. I will see you. Let me hear your thoughts. What you think about this plans and what Lieutenant Mkhwanazi wants to do. Let me hear what you think. I'll see you guys on my next upload. Bye.